sending out some AI stuff, so I want to make sure we record all our trainings. Okay, guys, so we're going to keep it pretty basic today. How are we doing on time? Okay, we got an hour.
1 o'clock.
So how many of you would like to work with sellers? Raise your hand. Esmeralda says no.
Oh.
Okay, so everyone wants to work with sellers, right? Until you do, then you realize, oh man, these guys are kind of difficult. So the first thing that I've noticed with you guys, like when you're making calls, is you guys are finding some sellers in the buyer ponds, right? And then what ends up happening is you get off the phone and you say, hey Ryan, this person wants to sell their property. And I say, okay, cool, what's the address? I don't know, right? Or how soon do they want to sell? I don't know, right? So I need to teach you guys what to say to a seller or what information you need to get, basically what questions you need to ask. Kind of like LP Mama, what we have for sellers is called the seller counseling interview, all right? So I just gave you guys all a copy of it. I'm gonna get it pulled up on the screen. So those are, like when you go to a listing appointment or when you say, hey Ryan, I need to go on this listing appointment, what I'm gonna do when I go into Follow-Up Boss, I'm gonna look for the answers to those questions. So basically what I do, like the ISAs, they copy and paste all those questions into Follow-Up Boss, and then they write the answers. Because I know as long as I have all those answers, I have everything I need to like be successful on my listing appointment. So let me get it pulled up on the screen so I can see it. Okay, so the first thing, you guys aren't really going to be getting like inbound seller leads, like all the inbound calls you're getting, those are mainly buyers, right? The ISA team is getting the inbound sellers. But if you do have someone inbound, like let's say it's a Sphere person or you get a phone call from somebody, you need to ask them how they heard about you, all right? It's really difficult, like when you start doing a lot of lead generation and you start getting inbound phone calls, to track certain lead sources. So you always have to ask, how did you hear about us, right? Especially like when you're doing different radio stations, you're doing billboards, you're doing TV commercials, and they just call and it says, hey, they just called in from the website. Well, what brought them to the website to begin with? You know what I mean? Like, were they just searching? Probably not. They probably saw a billboard or they heard us on the radio and they Googled Ryan Dobbs and then they saw the website, they saw the phone number, and they called. So if you don't ask, you don't know where they came from, and then you don't know what to do more of, right? And so it's always important to know the lead source on a seller lead. So this is all the information that you need in order to prepare for a listing appointment, all right? So if your guys are calling leads and you get someone that says, oh, I want to figure out what my house is worth, like you kind of break out into this script a little bit, all right? The first two things I'll tell you before I go into this that I look for with a seller, all right? There's two things you have to have. One is going to be motivation. What's the reason they're selling? Two is their time frame. When do they want to do it? You need to have those two things. As long as they have a real motivation, and I'm going to tell you guys what the most common motivations are, as long as they have one of those and their time frame is usually within 90 days, you want to set a listing appointment, right? If they say, I want to sell next year, it might be a little bit too early to like go through that process, right? But if they want to sell in the next few months or so, you want to set a listing appointment, okay? And then a good rule of thumb is, and you can use this on the buy side too, on the list side, this is what it is. You don't typically want to set a listing appointment further than 72 hours away. And then you also never do same day. You don't do same day, and you don't really want it to go over 24 hours or over 72 hours away. The reason being is the further out in the future you set an appointment, the higher your cancellation rate is going to be.
Why is that?
It just happens. Like if you set an appointment for 2 weeks from now, like there's a lot less likelihood that they're going to keep that appointment if you set an appointment with someone tomorrow. I don't know the reasoning, but that's what seems to happen the most. The further away you book it, like the less chance you're going to keep it. So 72 hours is kind of what we say on the list side. You can try to do that on the buy side too. Now, sometimes they're only available on weekends and you call them on Monday, like that's acceptable. You know what I mean? Book it for Saturday because they work all week or they're out of town or something. There are certain reasons, right? But if that's not one of them, like you want to try to get them in as soon as possible.
Or you're completely booked.
Or you're completely booked.
No, I'm saying you.
No, I know. We had a massive amount of cancellations last week for that reason. So half the appointments we set last week canceled because I already listed with somebody else, or I accepted an offer from an investor, So we had a lot of cancellations. So you need the first and last name of the person. If they have a spouse that's on title or decision maker, you want to know who they are too. The best contact phone number, you generally have that because you're talking to them on the phone. The best day of time to contact, you can ask them like, when's the best time to get a hold of you? Not a super important one, but it's a good question to ask. Okay, number 5, you want to confirm the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, any upgrades that they've done, any amenities of the house, like a pool, RV parking, solar, of the subject property. So kind of like LP Mama, it's like, tell me about what you want to buy. With a seller, it's like, tell me about your house, right? Because if I'm going to go run comps on this house and start comparing it to other homes, I want to know some information about the house. Another reason this is important is sometimes if they've done additions or things aren't permitted or that it's just wrong on the tax assessor website, when I go look up the property and it says 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and then I show up and it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, I've had that happen a few times. Like you want to confirm, like some sellers or be rude, you just look it up. Well, I know that, but sometimes when I go out to homes, like what shows online isn't what actually the home is. So I just want to confirm that it is a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and that it's about 1,500 square feet or whatever, right? So you always want to get that information. Then I'll ask them like, have you guys done any upgrades? Like when's the last time the home has been updated? Does it need any repairs that you know of? Like you want to find out information about the property, kind of the same way you do on LP Mama. Next I ask is how long have they lived at the property? Right? If they say, oh, I just bought it 6 months ago. Well, if they use an FHA loan, they might not have equity to sell, right? But if they put a bunch of money down, maybe they can, right? So I always ask that question, how long have they been there? And then I ask them, why do they want to sell? What's the motivation? All right? And I'll cover what the motivations are in just a second. But they need to have a reason. The most important, Gary might be able to second this because his business has been primarily listings since he started, really. Buying a home is a want item. That's why they're easier to work with. People buy a home because they want to. They want to become a homeowner, right? Selling a home is a need item. People do not sell homes because they want to. They sell homes because they need to. There's usually a reason that they're selling, right? So if they don't have I just want to test the market. Like, you ain't selling. You ain't selling. Sellers sell because they have to, usually, right? So you want to make sure, they're called the D's, like all the reasons. You want to make sure you identify which one of them they are. Another question you want to ask, are they using the proceeds or the money that they're getting from the sale to buy another property? Are you going to get another deal on the other side of this, right? Are they going to be like a sell and a buy deal? If yes, where, right? What location? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? You LP Mama them, right? Tell me about the house you want to buy, because now that's their motivation for wanting to sell. It's called a move-up buyer or move-down buyer. Or seller, excuse me. How much do they owe on the home, right? So now I want to see, is the home paid off or is there a mortgage on it, right? Because when I go to run comps and do my net sheet, I need to be able to bring a net sheet to the listing appointment so that I can show them how much money they're going to walk away with. And it just needs to be pretty close. It doesn't have to be like to the dollar, right? So I'd say like, Liz, is your home paid off or do you have a mortgage on it?
I have a mortgage on it.
Mortgage? Okay, what's the ballpark on that roughly?
About $358.
$358? Okay, perfect. I'm going to put a net sheet together for you that shows you exactly how much you're going to walk away with after the sale. And we'll make sure that that the loan gets paid off.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yep, that's all it is, right? Because some people will ask you, like, well, why do you need to know that? Well, I'm actually going to put a net sheet together for you that's going to show you how much you'll walk away with. So if I have the loan amount, I can include that so you'll see the exact amount. And if they say, oh, I know what that is, like, no big deal, right? Then we'll just won't include the loan. And then when we get there, we're going to say, okay, you're going to walk away with $450,000. They're like, well, I owe $420,000. Okay, subtract that. You're going to walk away with $30,000, right? Sometimes you got to do it that way. So how much do they owe? Is there a specific net amount they need to make in order to sell the home, right? And what is it? Most people will confuse this with like how much they want to sell the house for. Like, oh, I'll say 500, right? But it's important to know, like, even if they say 500, then you go run comps and the house is worth like 350. Like that's you don't go on that appointment, right? And I've had that happen a few times. They're unrealistic. They don't have a real need to sell, right? How fast would they like the home sold? So what's their time frame, right? So are we talking super fast, like 30 days, or a little further out, like 2 to 3 months? Does the home need any repairs that they know of? Right? Very basic. If the home is rented out, is it possible to still have access to the home for showings? Right? Or are we going to meet at the property? Am I going to be able to see it? Or is it going to be like a subject to interior inspection type thing? And then the last one is very important. Will all the decision makers be present at the appointment? It is very difficult to get someone to sign your contract if all the decision makers are not there, right? And so if it's possible, now if another decision maker lives out of state, it's difficult, right? But maybe you try to do like an online thing with them. You want to schedule the appointment for when everyone who's included in the decision is able to be there. So like husband and wife, like one's at work, one's at home. Okay, they're not going to sign that paperwork until they talk to their husband and wife later on when they get home from work. So you want to book it in a time when they're both available, either later or on the weekend or something like that. The reason it's important is because when you go to a listing appointment, your goal is to leave with a signed contract. Not go out there, give them all the information and be like, okay, I'll follow up with you, right? You're going to get a contract signed. If you do not leave with a signed contract, there's probably over 90% chance that you're not going to get it signed. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone on a listing appointment and it was like the greatest appointment ever. They're like my best friend by the time we left, and they literally said, yeah, I'm going to sign with you. Yeah. By far, more times than not, they do not sign.
Why?
I don't know. It just happens. Like that one I went to in Hanford. They both said they're going to call me on Sunday and I can send them the paperwork and they'll sign it. And they were both real estate agents. The sellers. They tried to sell their own house, couldn't sell it, so they called me. I know what they were doing. I figured it. They're going to take all the shit that I say I do and then they're going to try to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? That'll work.
You're going to get, you give them too much time to start thinking. Like at that point, what happens is, again, they just don't talk to them and their partner. They talk to their friends, their family. What do you think each one of their friends and family say? Oh,
how much
he's
they
my
charge
agent. They charge me real cheap.
Yep. Yeah, it becomes about commission a lot of times.
That's all it is, commission.
So like with Andrew's appointment, I'm using it for example. We went on his listing appointment the other day. When we walked in, like I could tell like this dude was not signing anything. Right? Because his sister is also an owner of the home and she is not there. And he will not do anything without running it by his family first. And so I knew, like, through talking to him, like, this guy isn't going to sign because she's not here. And we even called her at the table and she did not want to talk to me. Yeah, really weird. She was like, oh, she's really private. Another reason it's important that they be there. We have a really good listing presentation, right? And we offer a lot of different programs, a lot of different things, right? So we go through the presentation, we're explaining how things work, like why we do things the way we do them, like market statistics.
Even I was ready to sell.
Yeah, right? Do you think that person's gonna go explain that to their spouse the way you just explained it? No, they're gonna say, oh, they suggested this price, they're gonna do some photos, and this is how much they're charging.
They charge this much.
Yeah, they're gonna leave everything out of why you are doing what you're doing, right? And so you always want them to see it. Another reason too, we typically charge more for our listings, right? Like we get them at 7%, like almost every time. It is really hard to get a high commission if you cannot go over the listing presentation. So like when I do a phone call listing call, like those, they're very difficult to get a higher because they can't see the value that we're providing through like the presentation, right? And I try to go over it on the phone, but it's not the same, right? So you want everyone who's involved to see why it is you are the best and why they should use you, right? Because it's once you leave and you don't have that contract signed, like that person is not going to go explain it the way you can. Okay? So if you guys get anybody that wants to sell, this is what this is our seller counseling interview.
Please ask every question before saying you have an appointment.
Yeah, so like our ISAs, they get bonus on appointments. So one, they have to set the appointment. The second part of it is they have to have every answer to this interview. And the third part is they have to actually keep the appointment, right? So that's how they get a bonus. So it's called a qualified appointment on the listing side.
I want it to be one of these ones where if you're calling to say you have an appointment or you're booking it, you're gonna have to make sure we have all that. And if you ask us about it, I'm gonna reference you back and ask that you ask all the questions. If you left something out, you're gonna have to call them back. You just have to get comfortable and train yourself. I've realized the one thing about listings, all the questions I forgot to ask are always the ones that bite me in the ass later, and that's why I don't ever get the deal. So you just gotta get through 1 through 15, and these are actually really. This is actually really easy. You should see the script that I used to have to use before. Actually, it was way hard. The Mike Ferry one.
Yeah.
It felt like you were trying to get them to sign the contract on the phone, like.
Yeah, WIR has like a 4-page one. This is my watered down, easy to get version. One, because we do a lot of outbound prospecting, so it's harder to get all the answers on outbound. Inbound, it's easy. It's like you're just like conducting an interview basically. But outbound are difficult. So, any questions on any of this stuff?
I have a question. You said, so if they have a FHA loan, they might not be able to collect on the equity. Do they have to have the house for a certain amount of time before they can collect on the equity? Or is that
Well, the reason I say that is because FHA is generally going to be a lower down payment, right? Like 3.5%. So let's say they bought the house like 6 months ago and they only put 3.5% down. So they haven't paid their loan down basically at all, right? And the house really hasn't gone up in value since they bought it, right? So they're basically going to sell it for almost for exactly what they bought it for. But when you factor in all the fees for selling, like commission, escrow, taxes, title, like there might not be enough meat on the bone for them to not have to like write a check to get out of the house, right? Like so, they might not be enough equity for them to walk away or make money on the sale.
Don't get lost in the weeds on those types of things too much because it can hinder you from making an appointment. Because even if we go on the appointment and we determine they don't have enough equity, we can do a short sell.
I don't book appointments based on that. I find that out afterwards. Like when I'm running my comps and I see like, that's when I use that stuff to know like, okay, what type of appointment am I going into now? You know what I mean? Is this even worth the time? I set the appointment every time. But then I want to make sure I have all the information so that I can evaluate the appointment that I just set and see if I should still go.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is why do they want to sell? That should be the lengthiest conversation out of the most of it when they go into why. Like, I'm behind on payments. I just can't, you know what I mean?
So here, let's go over, there are, how many do I have, 5 or 6? I think it's 5. There might be more. There's like different versions of this. Gary probably knows different version than I do. This is the one that I was taught. So, and they're all, selling a home is a need item, right? And so the 2 things that you need are 1, a motivation, what's the need, and then 2, their time frame, right? So what are some reasons that people might need to sell a home?
Divorce.
Divorce, that's a big one. I got a bunch of those right now. That's the first need. Okay, what's the next one?
Person died.
Downsizing.
Okay, so downsizing, so yeah, that's the other D, death.
Or death.
Can't pay the bill.
Death, downside.
3, I heard downsizing, so that could be upsizing or downsizing. I kind of clump those ones together. That's like what we call like, there's 6 reasons and only 2 of them are good, right, that are positive. So upsizing and downsizing, that could be what we call a lifestyle upgrade.
Lifestyle.
So they're either buying a bigger house, or they're buying a smaller house to improve their life, you know what I mean? Like whatever, maybe they're empty nesters. So that could be upsize or downsize. This is one of the only ones that comes with a purchase on the other side of it. These other reasons, you're just gonna get a listing. Well, I heard some other ones.
Not necessarily divorce. The other person might be buying.
Good buy, yeah.
True. Well, yeah, you might.
And then you gotta sign their spousal deed.
That's where you get 2 buyers in one.
Sometimes, but most of the time you
Unless
don't.
have a
Yeah.
legal separation.
What about debt?
Death?
Debt.
Debt?
Got death. You got
Yep, so that
lifestyle,
one is gonna be
equity
called
cash out.
financial distress.
Financial distress.
Behind on payments, they got a bunch of debt they need to pay off, they can't afford to make their payment anymore, they lost their job,
Foreclosure.
right? That would also be, yeah, financial distress. That comes after not being able to afford their house. What was that?
Move out of state.
That's a lifestyle upgrade.
That's a lifestyle upgrade also. But actually, time out. That is correct on one of them though.
Financial.
So, relocation.
Yeah.
So, job relocation, that's another reason. So
That's
yes.
what I'm working on, man. Job reload, huh? Alright.
That's
Smart man.
relocation. Deployment would fall
Yeah, military relocation, something like that. And then, okay, so we have death, or divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Divorce, death, lifestyle, financial distress, relocation. These are the 2 good reasons.
Good
It's
answer.
funny
Good
listening
answer.
out there. Do you know what the most like stress? Like, do you know what's the most scariest thing when they rank them for people? Like when it comes to like things in life. It's like you would think it'd be like death and divorce. It's like public speaking.
Oh yeah, that's the number 1. That's the biggest public fear. Okay, there's one more. There's one more that might happen before death.
Oh,
They need
Illness,
some-
medical.
health.
So, grandma's a little bit too old. She needs to go into she needs to move in with family now, or she needs to go into a living. She hasn't died yet, right? But there's a medical issue that they need to sell.
Might as well have.
A lot of older folks, they have a 2-story. They don't want to go up and downstairs anymore, so now they want a single story, right? So that would be medical.
So would it be like lifestyle?
No, because they might not be buying another home either. They could be moving in with family, or moving into like a
Assisted living.
or something like that.
You could put like this is another one too, like slip guide, but like inheritance, like they got the house from
Death.
like.
That's what death is.
Oh, you want to put that in?
Yeah. So the person who
Oh,
died
okay, yeah,
isn't the one
yeah, I
selling the
guess
house.
so. About death.
It's the people that inherited the
It'd be hard
house.
to get them to sign.
Yeah, the person. So the reason
Try.
death is a reason because it starts
I've
with
seen people
T.
do it before.
Yeah, probate, trust sales, things like that. That's for the death reason. So you get a lot of that too. These are my 2 most common, right? I see these all day long. Death and divorce.
Fine, yeah.
2 biggest reasons people sell.
Mine's fine.
And then lifestyle upgrade too, but that hasn't been happening too much because everyone's locked into their 2 and 3% interest rate, so no one wants to move. So when it comes time, when you're talking to the seller, right? Hey, I want to sell my house. Awesome. Why?
You want to roleplay?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be me. You be the
Be
seller.
me.
Yeah, you be you.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be me. You be you. Okay, cool. So just tell me you want to sell your house.
Yeah. Hey Ryan, I got your number from one of my friends. He said you had helped him out previously before. Fucking lay down. I helped him out.
Yeah.
I got your number from one of my friends. He said he gave you a call. I was looking to sell my house. I was also looking at meeting with Brian Hicks too as well, because I know he has a reduced commission. I seen advertised, but they spoke highly of you, so I just wanted to give you a call. Oh, by the way, my name's Gary. It's Gary.
Oh, right on. Nice to meet you, Gary. Cool. Which friend?
It's my friend Jose Ariano.
Oh, I know Jose. I remember him. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we just did a deal together last year. Awesome.
Good.
Cool. Yeah, man. What's like the reason for wanting to sell?
Man, just when I got into this house, I came at a time where it's high rates. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done to the house. I think updates and stuff like that, and financially, I'm not prepared for it.
Okay.
But I did get, and what I mean by that is, I don't want to do a rehab of my house. Like my wife wants new kitchen and bigger master and a pool in the backyard. So I think now I'm more prepared to just take some of my money and get into another. I mean, it's hell easy. But I just want to get to a new home.
All right. Cool. So you guys want to sell this one, and then basically you're gonna use the funds and buy another home on the other side, on the other end of this.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to get into. Something a little bit bigger. I need an extra bedroom.
Okay. Tell me about that. So how many bedrooms are you looking for?
Right now I have 3 bedrooms. I'd like to get into 4 minimum. If there could be one, maybe 5 bedrooms, that'd be ideal.
Okay.
An office. I like to work at home right now for my business.
Okay. So ideally 5, but I mean we'll look at some 4s as well.
Larger backyard. It's not a deal breaker for a bigger backyard, but I do have dogs, and I'd like to get the kids a pool if possible.
Okay. Do you know an approximate square feet that you're looking for, or just big enough for a pool in a yard?
Just big enough for a pool and yard. I mean, our house right now is only 1,500 square feet as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So what I've kind of looked online, I mean, you're the professional, but I saw that usually 1,800 square feet or bigger usually gives me a second living room and an additional bedroom. So
Okay.
I see something like that probably.
Cool. So yeah. So we're looking around 5 beds, 4 to 5 beds, 1,800 square feet. Yard. You want enough room to have a pool and a yard for the kids. How many kids you got?
I have 6.
6? Oh my goodness, I got 2. I can't imagine having 6, man.
Yeah, that's why I need to get
All different ages, I'm assuming. So is school district important to you? What schools they're gonna go to?
Nah, not necessarily. They're all in private school.
Okay. What part of town are you guys wanting to be in?
I'd like to stay in the south, the southwest, the Bakersfield, kind of as close as I can be to the West Side Parkway.
Okay, so southwest, close to the West Side
A little
Parkway.
mid. I don't really want to go into the northwest too much, but I kind of like staying around that.
Kind of south of the river, basically.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Got it. South of the river on
Hey,
the
real
west side.
quick, man. What do you guys usually charge in commission? Because I know that was something I wanted to kind of cover because I know I have equity in my house, but I don't know how much. I want to utilize enough I can put down towards that payment.
Yeah, totally, definitely. Great question, man. We actually have a flexible commission menu. So we offer like all kinds of different programs. When I kind of meet with you and I see the home, we'll go over all the different options. Then you can kind of pick and choose what works best for you.
Okay, so you don't have like an actual percentage?
We go from 1 all the way up to 5%. It totally just depends on like what you're looking for. And so when I go over everything with you, you'll be able to choose which one you want.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. So how soon are you guys wanting to be in your new home?
We're in January. I'd like to get the process started. If everything makes sense, get everything completed hopefully by summer. I mean, that would be the latest because I don't want to be moving. I want the kids to be able to have the summer, we do some traveling and stuff like that.
Okay, so preferably probably in the springtime then is what we're talking.
Possibly, yeah.
All right, cool. And now are you, I know you said you bought the home not too long ago. I don't know how much money you put down. Are you planning on buying cash on the next home or are you going to need to talk to a lender?
We picked the house up about 5 years ago, so I mean we should have some equity when I looked online. I mean I know those things aren't really, like the estimates and stuff like that aren't too true, but I mean I felt like we should have at least 40, 50K maybe we should make.
Okay.
And it's a first time home buyer home.
Okay, perfect. So you guys are going to take that money basically and then you're going to use that as your down payment to help buy the next home. Okay.
Yeah, and also I don't want to fix anything. Like I mean there's nothing wrong with the house. I just don't really care to. I want to keep as much money as I possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of one of the things that I'll do. I'll go over, like once I see the home, I can tell you like what the price would be if you don't do anything. I could tell you what it would be if you do a couple things, because that'll be two different things, right? And then it's up to you if it's worth it or not, on what those things are.
Okay.
So let's see. I got what you're looking for. I got your time frame. Have you already talked to a lender by chance at all, or do you have someone that you work with regularly?
No, I haven't spoken to a lender. The lender last time I used was just what my agent had recommended, but I definitely wouldn't go back to that agent. Like I just felt like they didn't know what they were doing. They seemed like a newer agent. Nice guy, but I didn't really want to utilize him after that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I definitely have someone that I can recommend if you need me to, and we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there. So can you tell me a little bit, I got what you're looking for, can you tell me a little bit more about your house? I know you said it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, around 1,400 square feet.
Yeah.
Does it, like, I know you didn't do anything to it. What repairs are needed?
Well, it's in Silver Creek, so 3-bed, 2-bath, about 1,450 square feet. As far as repairs go, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily repairs, but I mean, we have like tile countertops. We haven't updated the flooring or anything like that. It still looks like when we bought it, which I think is still pretty good condition.
Okay, so it just hasn't been updated in a while.
Yeah, it just needs like that type of stuff, And I started weighing out my options, like, okay, I got a bid, if I'm gonna spend 50 to rehab the kitchen and put some flooring in, I might as well just use that equity to buy a newer house of a bigger size, right? Get some of those amenities already.
Yep, totally makes sense. Definitely a great idea. Cool, man. Well, I think I got everything that I need. You said it's you and your 6 kids and your partner as well, right?
Yeah, my wife.
Okay, so I'm assuming she's probably a big part of this decision-making process as well. When are you guys typically both available, weekdays or weekends?
Weekends.
Weekends? Okay, which works better for you guys, Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Sundays? You like mornings or afternoons better?
I'd like to do an afternoon.
Afternoon? All right.
Usually,
How about we do this Sunday either like 2 p.m. or 4 p.m.?
4 p.m.
4 p.m.? All right, cool. I'll put you down for Sunday at 4 p.m. Just to confirm your wife is available at that time as well?
Yeah, for sure. I'll make sure she's there. Yeah, how long does it usually take?
I mean, it could be as fast as like 20 to 30 minutes. Most of the time, they go a little bit longer because a lot of people tend to have a lot of questions, so I want to make sure I have enough time. So usually budget about an hour or so, just depending on.
Just so like I'm not signing nothing that day, right? Like you're just kind of telling me about, like you'll tell me how much you think my home's worth, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over basically. I'm gonna see the home so that I can kind of figure out exactly what it's worth. I'll go over the whole selling process with you, like everything that we can do to get the home to sell, what it should sell for, what your walk away would be with, and then if that's something that you feel comfortable with me doing, then yeah, I can go over the contract with you at that point. But again, there's like no pressure, right? I'm not saying you have to sign with me. So my goal is to earn your business when I meet with you.
Okay, fair enough.
Sound good? Okay, cool. So is this the best number? Can I send you a text message on this?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, awesome. I'll send you a confirmation text right now, and then I'll also confirm again the day before. Just let me know if we're still on. If anything changes, you need to move it or whatever. Just let me know. That's totally fine. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Have a great day. Yeah, that's it. I've had that conversation a lot of times. That's exactly how it goes too. Like that felt like a real conversation.
So it's not so like, I mean, like I say, because he's had the conversation a lot, he'll kind of jump around.
Yeah, you don't have to go in this order. This is not LP Mama. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna get this at different times.
Yeah.
What I do is I have the conversation, and what I train the ISAs to do is I just have the conversation, and I ask everything that I can remember to ask. And then before I get off the call, I'll be like, okay, one sec, let me just make sure I have all the information I need, and I'll scan this real fast. And any of them that I missed, I'll ask. That's how I'll do it. And the ISAs do it. If they forget something, they look at this really quickly before they end the call. Oh, just because, one thing I need to get before we set the appointment or before we meet with you, how long have you lived there? Or whatever.
What do you guys think about this script? Do you guys utilize it?
That's a seller call all day long.
Keep it, the one thing I learned in real estate and sales is like, keep it simple, stupid, right? Like, don't overthink the process, right? Like, you'll stumble into appointments if you just even went, I need to ask number 1, number 2, number 3, and you're just asking, right? Like, you'll learn your natural style eventually, but you just have to get accustomed to just asking the questions until you can do this with your eyes closed. Like, I can get through the questions with my eyes closed, like, just because I'm just used to it over so length of time and having that many conversations. And eventually your personality will come out, but for the first couple months you're getting acclimated to this, just stick to this and it's gonna help you out. Everybody asks, do you guys have scripts? And then we give them scripts. Nobody uses the scripts because the first thing they say is, oh, I don't talk like this.
Yep.
Well, then when you make $1 million a year and you have a brokerage and you do coaching, then you feel free to create whatever script you want. And until then, we just gotta use what the pros have given us and don't stray away from it. There's a reason it's in production.
Yep. So, and the reason me and Gary can do this, like, without ever looking at this, is because it's like he said, every time we have not asked a question, that's the one that always bites you in the ass. So when you've done this over and over and over, and you've gone to appointments and they don't sign with you because you fucked up and you forgot something, like, you remember real fast, make sure you ask that next time.
Your questions and your script, your internal script, is like our real estate contract. Every time another page gets added because somebody got sued, like, wait, another page now because you got sued, another page, we gotta add this in to protect ourselves. So that list will start off as 15 questions, and by the time I get through a conversation, it's like 50.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I've had to add layers of something that burned me on a deal that I lost money on. Oh, I forgot to ask that at some point. Oh, well, figure this one out on the deal, let me go from there, so we'll just get better as you have more of the conversation with it.
Cool. Any questions? What are your guys' some questions on sellers? We're gonna have an entire week on sellers. So, like, what are some questions that you guys have on how to work with a seller? And then maybe we can make sure that we cover that over this week.
Is this the same script you would use if you were calling like a for sale by owner?
No. So this is not an outbound script. This is like when you get someone that already says they want to sell, like an actual script. This isn't a script. This is just a questionnaire. It's an interview, right? A script, like, hey, this is Ryan with Ryan Dobbs Realty. Like, you're outbound prospecting, right? So there is a for sale by owner one, which we're gonna cover, which is our smart seller program. And then there's also like an expired canceled script for what goes. Like, that's what the ISAs do, though.
Is anybody like interested in calling for sell by owners or cancel expires? I'm just curious. Why?
Well, I see a
Keep your
lot.
ass kicked all day.
Just like driving around, I see a lot of for sale by owners. So, I mean,
So they seem like the easiest to do.
They
It
are.
will break you.
For sell by owners are the
It
hardest
will
things to
break
do.
you.
They have a
They
lot
are
of
the
questions,
hardest people to do.
and they know more.
And when you guys have the least amount of skills and techniques right now, you're gonna get so freaking demoralized. You'll think it never works.
Every for sale by owner is a high D.
If I can give you any
And they will train
advice,
wreck you.
go after buyers and the leads we have first. Not because he's buying them, but because they will get you the quickest paychecks.
They're
When
easy.
you start asking about going after those, by all means, but you're going up against the sharks in this industry. Alex Duretti, Josh Macias, myself when I was calling them. Like, I know who the hitters are when I call them. Ryan Dobbs. You're going against guys that are proven. So they'll eat you alive. Not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I don't know the strength of your guys' internal fortitude to push through, like, on things like that. 'Cause that's all I ever called when I started, and that shit is brutal. Because you are like, here's a for sale by owner. Have you ever called a for sale by owner before? So here's a for sale by owner. Hey, this is Gary with Ryan Dobbs Realty. I'm not gonna list.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not what I'm calling. I have a question. And usually people say, I have a buyer for your house. I'm not paying commission. Stop calling me. Like they're immediately shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the first thing they see is you're calling because you want to make a buck, and they've made a determination they don't need you. That's why they're selling it for sell by owner. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying don't go after them, but don't get lost in the weeds so much that those are like you just want to focus all your time on them, right? Because I don't want you guys to lose sight of where you guys can make the fastest money. There's a reason, like our numbers are based off of 35 days or less to open an escrow, not because you go after for sell by owners or expires or cancels. It's because you're working with the leads that are coming in.
Yeah.
Right? Then you just got to stay adamant on those. And then as we progress, like, you know, you get better and more confident in that and your tonality and speaking with them, because they'll eat you alive. I mean, to this day, I'll call someone and be like, have you ever sold a house in Seven Oaks? What are you going to say? No.
No, but my team has.
Good answer.
Or
Yeah.
I work with
There you go. Leverage us for
Yeah,
sure.
Leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My team has. I would love to
How
show
many
you.
have you sold specifically though?
Yeah.
Specifically, that's a good question. Our brokerage has sold, like, not specifically,
No,
but
that's
my
right, man. I
team.
was asking
Yeah.
about you.
So-
Appreciate it.
But
No,
no,
I
happens.
haven't.
It's like I take you a
Yeah.
strip look for them. You know what I mean? You go out and try to test them out.
Yeah,
Maybe
she
shit,
knows.
try to get in. If anything, I go after for sell by owners and be like, hey, I don't even want to sell your house. Are you gonna buy a replacement house?
Mhm.
Do you have an agent for that? I would love to help you buy a house. I don't even want to deal with the listing side of it. Why end up hiring you anyways? Because you still call them, you know. I know some agents that will go do open houses for sell by owners, just to pray to God that they hire them as a listing agent.
Yeah, that's why you do them.
Yeah.
All right, so here's another good drawing of like what that is. So it's called the buyer and seller happiness curve. So generally, buying a home is a want item, right? It's fun, it's exciting. Like, what does everyone love to do? They love to go house shopping, look at houses, right? So they're excited the whole time. They're happy. They're fun to talk to. They're gonna achieve their dreams, right? So their happiness starts way up here, and then when they get into escrow, it goes way down here, right? Because now they got inspections, appraisal. They're paying for things, right? Selling a home is a need item, right? So the need is there before the home ever hits the market. And remember, most needs are bad, right? Death, divorce, financial distress, medical, unless they're gonna buy another house, but then they're also this at the same time, right? So they start down here. They're very stressed out and they're very worried that their house might not sell or they might not get what they need. They're gonna have to do a bunch of repairs, right? But then once you get an offer accepted, now they're happy, right? So
you're already starting behind the ball because you're already talking about how much equity you're gonna take from them, right? Like they think your house is worth 4, but your comp show 365.
yeah. So yeah, their sellers they're more stressed out at the beginning, and then as it goes, it gets easier because once their house is in escrow, like, whew, right? Then the buyer, they're happy because they're looking at houses with you all day, and then they get in escrow. Now they got to do a bunch of stuff, right? So it's the buyer and the seller happiness curve.
I've never seen that before. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're so smart.
I've not made up a single thing that I teach you guys. Like, I have learned everything that I teach you, I have learned from someone else smarter than me. And so I just get really good. Like, I am the king, and another person who's a lot smarter than me said this, and so I copy him now. He's the king of R&D. Rip off and deploy. He just finds other people that are doing shit better than him, and he just fucking copies them. And he's the king. His entire business, he's built that way. Hasn't made nothing up himself. Like, remember, real estate's been figured out. Like, I am not going to invent anything new. Unless I'm a tech guy, like inventing an app, I ain't inventing anything new here. I'm just teaching you guys what I have been taught. And I seek out knowledge every single day. So that's like where the personal growth, like I'm constantly trying to learn new shit from people smarter than me, and then it just filters all down to you guys. And then eventually, you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to filter it on down to other people, whether you run your own brokerage, your own team, or you're a little sub-team within the team, or you want to be a mentor, or a trainer, or a sales manager like Gary. Like, once you get there, then you got to give back. All right. Any questions now on sellers that you want us to cover over the next week? We got about 20 minutes left. That's basically, I think, all I had for today.
I think it'd be good to start with that, especially since you guys are all getting people that say they want to sell. Like, I'm interested in selling. Great. Boom. Jump
Yeah,
in.
that's why I wanted to start with this, so that you guys knew, because like you have one right now you need to call, and you need to get all these answers, and you need to set the listing appointment. One thing, another little like tactical item, when you book a listing appointment, Gary asked how long they last. They last an hour and a half. I have it to a science at an hour and a half. Do not tell them it takes an hour and a half, right? They'll be like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like 30 minutes to an hour, it depends on how many questions you have. Because once you start going over shit, like they have all kinds of questions. So like if they're gonna sign the contract, it is an hour and a half long appointment. It can be a lot shorter if they're not gonna sign, and you realize that a lot sooner. So whenever you book it on the calendar, always book an hour and a half time slot. So and when you book it on the calendar, what I'm in follow-up boss, right? You go to the appointment section, type in listing appointment, the address, that way it shows up on your calendar, and then make it for an hour and a half. If it's an out-of-town listing appointment like Lake Isabella or Delano or Taft, if it's in town, you don't got to do this. But if it's out of town, you need to schedule drive time as well, right? Because you will get double booked if you don't, or if you're me, you'll get double booked. So my calendar is filled all day, every day. So if you have a listing appointment that's an hour and a half away, and then you don't put like 2 hours of drive time on the front and the back, like I'm gonna get something else scheduled during that drive time, and then my calendar is gonna be all messed up. So always book drive time for out of town appointments. And I also always add 30 minutes of drive time on the way there, in case I need to stop, you get gas, use the bathroom or something, you know what I mean? Traffic, like you never want to book it like for the exact time, because there's always something that's going to make you a little bit late, or your last appointment went a little long. Always give yourself room. You'll remember what it is. No questions on sellers?
Oh, yeah, I remember. The listing presentation with Chris Waters. You've been in that before, right? Would you?
Yeah, we them all.
But you watched one before with him, right? Has anybody?
Yes, you've been on the list. You've been on the listing training call.
Yeah, but not when he went over the listing.
No, but you've been on the listing call.
Before.
That's what he meant.
Logged
is
into it. Yes,
you've been on the
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done, yeah.
Okay. So everybody, if you're
Pretty
doing,
good.
which I would highly suggest all you guys, right? Take the fucking bull by the horns, jump on that call tomorrow, and before you leave, make sure you have the link, so you're not texting in the morning like, "Where's the link?" And know where your information is in your calendar. And so I want you guys to watch that listing presentation tomorrow. You guys can watch it on your phone. Watch Chris Waters go through it, the owner of the company, and whatever, you know, I'm sure it's kind of a revolving one, right? Depending on what day you jump in, you're kind of going through the whole process of it, or is it the same thing over and over?
No, he does different shit all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're always getting something good. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say jump into that, get acclimated with that very consistently, because look, we need listing
Andrew,
agents.
will you hit the button?
Like, we need listing agents.
Got it.
Once this onboarding is done, we're not going to
It
ask
didn't
you if
go
you
off.
want to be a listing agent. You need to